Hey guys, today I'm going to be telling you all about WebSockets, and they're very important. You're probably going to be seeing them in the future in your work, so pay attention. Alright, before I explain it, I just want to get into a use case. Imagine you have a browser game with a scoreboard on top. Now, how do you get the information if the scoreboard changes? Also, kind of a similar problem, imagine you're messaging with someone. Like, I'm hitting up Greg in his DMs. I'm like, hey Greg, what's up? And he's like, oh, nothing much. How does he get my first message? And then how do I get his message? It's kind of an interesting design problem. It's a bit more involved than you might think it is. So, if you think about it with HTTP, the way to do it would probably be to keep on hitting the server with requests saying, in the case of a scoreboard, get updated scoreboard. In the case of messaging, do I have any more messages from Greg or something like that? And that can really cause a huge strain on the server. Imagine if I'm like constantly barraging the server with requests saying, hey, do I have a new message from Greg? Do I have a new message from Greg? I really want a new message from Greg. And I don't know, if you have like thousands or millions of users, each sending thousands of requests a minute, like that's really going to slow things down a lot. So there is a better solution called long polling, where essentially you make a request, the server holds on to it, and then gives it back. So you say, oh, tell me when there's an updated scoreboard, and then give it to me. And then the server would give it to you at that point. But even that kind of has some scaling implications. So this was kind of a problem that people saw on the web in the 2000s, and this is why WebSocket was created. So what is WebSocket? WebSocket kind of has the goal of for browser-based programs that need to have full duplex communication without relying on multiple HTTP connections. And the protocol essentially consists of an opening handshake and then basic messaging back and forth using a framework I'm going to show in the next slide. So here's kind of the framework. I'll also mention that URIs for WebSockets start with WS or WSS, which is different than HTTP or HTTPS. And there's also various status codes that I'm not going to get into. WebSockets does use HTTP, but only for its first message. Other than that, everything is done through, it's kind of abstracted or put on top of an TCP connection. And data is transmitted as frames. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but if you're interested, check out my resources at the end of this slideshow. I also want to show briefly just how you can implement this in client JavaScript code running in the browser. This doesn't use any libraries. Essentially, you make a new WebSocket, you pass in that WSS thing I showed earlier, and then you can also specify protocols for the server to take. And then you can just send a message, and you can make an event listener saying, oh, well, when I get a message, print it. It's that easy. And I hope this kind of demonstrates also that WebSockets allow for event-driven programming. Whereas before with HTTP, you have to make a request and then get it back. And you can kind of force it with that long polling, but it's messy. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed learning about WebSockets. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask me. I'm going to stay around in the presentation, in the chat. You can also hit me up on LinkedIn or Discord. But I hope everyone has a good day.